Ethan, Nathan's voice sliced through the meeting room, smooth but sharp. Care to explain why our biggest client just terminated their contract? My throat tightened. That's news to me, sir? I sent the final draft yesterday, then maybe you sent them the wrong numbers. He leaned back in his chair, smirking. Because what they received was a disaster. The conference room went silent. 10 pairs of eyes watched me, pretending not to enjoy the spectacle. I double-checked everything, I said, forcing calm. You reviewed the proposal yourself before I sent it. Nathan's lips curved. Are you suggesting I made the mistake? No, I'm saying something doesn't add up. He stood, adjusting his tie, like he was about to deliver a eulogy. What doesn't add up, Ethan, is your arrogance. You've been sloppy for months. Maybe it's time we found someone who still cares about their job. Sir, please, you're fired. The words hit harder than I thought they could. A few gasps broke around the table. My friend from accounting looked down, pretending to type. No one spoke. No one defended me. You're firing me? Here in front of everyone? Transparency builds accountability, Nathan said smoothly. Security will escort you out. Laughter cracked faintly in the corner. Someone coughed to hide it. I gathered my files with shaking hands, my body burning with humiliation. As I reached the door, I turned back. You know, this isn't about a client, Nathan. You know exactly what you did. He smiled, the kind that said I'd already lost. Goodbye, Ethan. I walked out before I said something that would ruin me more. The elevator felt like a coffin, cold, suffocating, filled with the echo of my failure. Downstairs, the receptionist glanced at me with pity. I'm sorry, I nodded. Yeah, me too. Outside, the sky was gray, the kind that matched the taste of regret. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Lena, we need to talk, of course. The 4 words that end everything. I stood under the awning, rain starting to fall. I called her immediately. Hey, what's going on? She hesitated. Can you meet me later? At the cafe near Bath. Now, I think it's better in person. Her voice was distant, unsure. I felt the same coldness that had filled Nathan's tone minutes ago. I just got fired, I said quietly. Nathan made a show of it. Everyone watched. She inhaled sharply. Ethan, I'm so sorry, yeah. I bet you are. I didn't mean to sound bitter, but it slipped out. Please, don't do that. Just meet me later. 6 o'clock. Before I could reply, the line went dead. I shoved my phone into my pocket and started walking with no direction in mind. The rain grew heavier, soaking through my shirt. Every drop felt like punishment. I replayed the meeting in my head, the smirk, the silence, the fake sympathy. I'd spent 5 years building that department from scratch. Nathan had been my mentor once, the man who told me, we'll rise together. Together, my ass. When I reached my car, I just sat there. My reflection in the windshield looked like someone I didn't know. A man stripped of purpose, of dignity. I whispered to no one. He planned this. A memory flickered the night Nathan asked for access to my client reports. He said it was for a cross-check. I hadn't questioned it. I trusted him. I laughed bitterly. You really are an idiot, Ethan. My phone buzzed again. A notification from the company chat. Someone had already posted a message. We wish Ethan all the best in his future endeavors. So fast. Almost like they'd written it beforehand. I stared at the words until they blurred. Then I turned off my phone. At 6 p.m., I drove to the cafe. The lights inside glowed warm, almost mocking. Lena sat by the window, hands wrapped around her cup. She looked nervous. When she saw me, she stood halfway, then sat back down. Rough day, I said, forcing a smile. She nodded. Ethan, there's no easy way to say this. I felt my stomach sink. Then just say it. I can't do this anymore. Her eyes glistened. You've been distant, angry, obsessed with work, and I found someone else? I said quietly. Tears welled in her eyes. Silence confirmed everything. My voice trembled. Who? She looked away. Nathan. For a second, I couldn't breathe. Then I laughed. sharp, humorless. Of course. Ethan, please. It just happened? She wiped her tears. I didn't mean for it to. Stood up. You never do. Outside, rain poured harder. I walked away before she could see my face break. The cold soaked into my bones, but it didn't matter at that moment. I realized something I should have known all along. Betrayal doesn't come from strangers. It comes from the ones you trust most. Asterisk, the next morning, sunlight felt wrong, too bright for the kind of darkness I was in. My phone buzzed with messages I didn't want to read. My parents. Old coworkers. Lena. I ignored them all. Then Ryan's name popped up. Ryan Brooks, the only one who'd ever had my back at Novatech. Ryan. Man, what the hell happened yesterday? I hesitated before replying. Ask Nathan. A few seconds later, my phone rang. Ethan, are you okay? He asked, define okay? I mean, I heard rumors. Something about financial discrepancies. I cut him off. Nathan planted them. I know he did. He's been planning this. Ryan's voice dropped. You didn't hear it from me, but people say he's already pitching your client portfolio as his own. The board's impressed. My chest tightened. Of course they are. Listen, Ryan said, you need to talk to HR. Nora might help. She won't. No one will. They're all scared of him. He sighed. Then what are you going to do? I stared at the coffee cup in my hand. I don't know yet. When the call ended, silence filled the room, heavy and absolute. A knock came at the door. I opened it to find Lena. Can we talk? She asked softly. I wanted to slam the door, but I didn't. You've got nerve showing up here. I didn't come to fight, she said, stepping inside. Her perfume still smelled like the mornings I used to wake up next to her. I just needed to explain. Explain what? How you and Nathan just happened? She flinched. You're hurt. I get it. But it's not what you think. It's exactly what I think, I said. He took my job, and you let him take you too. Her voice trembled. It wasn't about taking sides. I didn't know what he was doing to you. Then you're blind, I snapped. Because I was drowning, and you watched. Tears welled in her eyes. I didn't mean to hurt you. You didn't just hurt me, Lena. You made sure I had nothing left. She stared at me, mouth quivering. You were obsessed with work, Ethan. You shut me out long before Nathan came along. Her words stung because they weren't entirely wrong. I'd worked too much, trusted too easily, and loved too late. Maybe I was, I said quietly. But that doesn't justify betrayal. She looked down. He said you'd blame me. My chest went cold. He said what? She froze. I laughed bitterly. Of course. Nathan's already rewriting the story. He always does. I just wanted to say goodbye, she whispered. Then go, I said, and don't come back. She turned toward the door, pausing for a second. I did love you, Ethan, once. The door closed softly behind her, but the silence it left behind was deafening. I sat there for what felt like hours. My mind replayed her words, twisting them until they became noise. By nightfall, I couldn't stay inside anymore. I grabbed my jacket and walked. The city looked different, colder, louder, like it was laughing at me. I stopped outside the glass tower that used to be mine. Novatech glowed bright against the night sky. I could almost see Nathan's reflection in those lights, confident. It's untouchable. Enjoy it while it lasts, I muttered. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. I almost ignored it, but curiosity won. Hello? Mr. Reed? The voice was female, calm, professional. This is Nora Blake from HR. I stiffened. How did you get my number? We still have your contact on file, she said. Listen, I shouldn't be calling, but you need to know something. There's talk about an audit. They're trying to make your firing look justified. Nathan's pulling strings. Can they actually make it stick? If the numbers match what's on record, yes. And from what I've heard, someone's adjusting those numbers as we speak. I clenched my jaw. He's still covering his tracks. Ethan, she said carefully, whatever you do, don't confront him right now. He's dangerous when cornered.
Ask for the warning,
I said. but I've got nothing left to lose. Before she could reply, I hung up. Standing there under the streetlight, I realized the truth. I wasn't angry anymore. I was hollow. When betrayal strips everything away. You stop feeling pain. You start planning. I looked up at the building one last time, my reflection merging with its glass. You wanted me gone, Nathan, I whispered, but I'm still here. And for the first time since losing everything, I almost smiled. I was halfway through rewriting my resume when my phone buzzed. Unknown number, Ethan Reed. The voice was cautious. Female. Who's asking? I leaned back, exhaustion thick in my tone. My name's Mara Chen. I work at Apex Well. Used to work there. I think we need to talk. I froze. Apex? You're kidding? You know what happened? I know Nathan Cole made sure you took the fall. Her voice trembled slightly. But he didn't do it alone. I felt my pulse quicken. What are you saying? There's more. I can't say over the phone. Can you meet me? I hesitated, staring at my reflection in the laptop screen. The same guy who'd been humiliated in front of everyone 2 weeks ago. Where? Green light calf. Back booth. 10 minutes. Hung up, grabbed my jacket, and ran into the drizzle. Mara was already there, tapping her fingers against a coffee cup. She looked nervous, eyes darting toward the door every few seconds. You came. She said your message sounded like something out of a spy movie, I said, sliding into the seat. You said you worked at Apex. Why quit? She took a shaky breath. Because Nathan's covering something up. You were right about the Hastings deal. It wasn't your mistake. My stomach twisted. Then whose was it? His. He changed the client file before the presentation. You sent the correct numbers, but what the board saw was his version. I stared at her, speechless. He forged the data? She nodded. And he deleted the audit trail. I found fragments in the internal logs before IT shut me out. Tell me now, I asked quietly. Because I was fired yesterday, she said bitterly. Same excuse, performance issues, but I saw the memo. He's building a case to make you look like the start of a pattern. I clenched my fists under the table. He's cleaning house, Mara nodded again. He's aiming for a promotion, making sure there's no one left to contradict him. Silence sat heavy between us. The sound of the espresso machine hissed like static in my head. What do you want from me, Mara? I finally asked. I don't want anything. I just thought you should know. She reached into her bag and slid over a small USB drive. This has the backup logs. It's not everything, but it's proof someone tampered with your work. I stared at the drive, the metal glinting under the cafe lights. You could get in serious trouble for this. She gave a small, tired smile. I already did. I hesitated, then took it. You're risking a lot for someone you barely know. You deserve better, she said simply. Everyone saw how he treated you, but no one said anything. We were scared. Her words hit me harder than I expected. Scared of Nathan? Of losing everything. Like you did. I laughed bitterly. Trust me, it's not as bad as it looks. It's worse. She gave me a look of quiet sympathy. You're not done, are you? You still want to fight back? I didn't answer right away. My reflection in the cafe window looked foreign. Tired eyes, hollow face, the faint tremor of something darker beneath the calm. I don't want revenge, I said finally. I just want the truth out. That's what everyone says before they start fighting, she murmured. I looked at her sharply. What do you mean? Mara leaned forward. Nathan's not afraid of exposure, he's afraid of losing control. If you hit him wrong, he'll hit back harder. I'm counting on it, I said, standing. She frowned. Ethan, I appreciate the warning, really, but he's not walking away clean after what he did. Mara looked down, fiddling with her cup. Be careful. People like Nathan... They don't stop until they've broken everyone else. Then I guess we'll see who breaks first. I walked out before she could reply. The drizzle had turned into steady rain, soaking through my jacket, but I barely felt it. The USB burned cold in my pocket, a small metallic heartbeat against my leg. For the first time in weeks, I felt something like focus. I took a deep breath and whispered to myself, "You took everything from me, Nathan." Now I take it back. Lightning flashed behind the clouds, illuminating the city skyline like a promise or a warning. Either way, I wasn't the same man he fired anymore. Sophie dropped the box of instant noodles on the table. "Dinner's served, CEO." I laughed weakly. "Careful. You'll jinx it," she raised an eyebrow. "We already hit rock bottom, Ethan. There's nowhere left to fall." Comforting, I muttered, typing code furiously on my battered laptop. The screen flickered, cursor lagging like it was tired too. Our office was really a one-bedroom apartment above a laundromat. The air smelled like detergent and cheap coffee, but it was ours. Sophie walked over, peering at my screen. "You're rebuilding the algorithm again?" "Not rebuilding," I said. "Perfecting," she smirked. "You mean obsessing?" "Same thing," I said. Coltech's version was full of shortcuts. "I'm going to do it right this time." Us. Sophie crossed her arms. "You still think about him too much." "Think about what he stole," I corrected. "Big difference." She sighed and leaned against the wall. "You could have taken the deal. Worked for someone else. Started fresh." I looked up. "And let Nathan Cole keep everything?" "No, I'll rebuild what's mine, line by line, even if it kills me." She nodded slowly. "Then I guess we better stock up on coffee." Weeks blurred together. Code, caffeine, sleepless nights. I'd wake up on the couch, the laptop still on my chest. Sophie would already be working, hair tied up, typing faster than I could think. We called it Nova Edge. The idea was rebirth. A sharper beginning. Sounds like a toothpaste brand. Sophie joked when I first suggested it. "Then let's make it something they'll never forget," I replied. We laughed, but there was truth in it. Every click, every update. Every sleepless night was fueled by anger disguised as ambition. 3 months in, Sophie burst through the door one evening. "You're not going to believe this," she said. Breathless. "If it's about the power bill again, Mark Davis," she interrupted. "The Mark Davis from Aegis Ventures. He wants to meet us." I froze mid-keystroke. "You're joking." "No joke. He saw the prototype on the tech forum. Said it's cleaner than Coltech's platform and wants a demo." My mouth went dry. "He knows who I am." "Of course. He called you the fired guy who coded gold out of spite." I groaned. "Great branding," Sophie grinned. "It got his attention, didn't it?" The meeting was in a rented co-working space downtown. I wore my only suit, the same one I was fired in. Mark Davis shook my hand with a firm, confident grip. "Ethan Reed," he said, smiling. "The man who refuses to stay down or refuses to shut up," I said, half joking. "I like that better," he replied, sitting across from me. "Now, show me what you've built." Sophie ran the demo. The platform ran smoother than ever, lightning fast, intuitive. Mark watched silently, then leaned back. "This is impressive." "And you coded all this in what, 6 months?" 4, I said quietly. His brows rose. "You're either a genius or insane. Probably both," Sophie said. Mark chuckled. "I'm in. But I'm not just funding you, Ethan. I'm betting on your fire. Don't let it burn you alive." Funding changed everything. We moved out of the apartment into a small office space with real chairs, real coffee, and a view of the city's skyline. We hired a small team, developers, designers, a marketing intern who insisted on blasting pop music during breaks for the first time since losing everything. I felt alive. "Remember when we couldn't afford heat?" Sophie asked one night, looking out the office window. "Yeah," I said. "Now we can't afford mistakes." She smiled. "You still think about Nathan?" I exhaled slowly. "Every day, but not with hate. With purpose." She tilted her head. "Sounds dangerous." "It's called focus," I said, eyes fixed on the glowing city below. A year later, Nova Edge went public. The headlines called me the man who beat Coltech at its own game. Investors cheered. Cameras flashed. Mark clapped me on the back. Sophie grinned, whispering, "Told you, CEO." I smiled for the cameras, but inside, something colder stirred. After the conference, Mark pulled me aside. You've built something incredible, Ethan, but I can tell this isn't enough for you, is it? I met his gaze. It's never been about enough. He studied me for a moment, then nodded. Then whatever comes next. Make sure it's worth what it costs. Later that night, Sophie and I sat on the rooftops, the city lights reflecting in her glasses. Everyone's talking about you, she said softly. The comeback story. The revenge genius. I laughed under my breath. Revenge takes time. This is just the foundation. She glanced at me. You're not going to stop, are you? No, I said, staring out into the skyline where Coltech's glowing tower still loomed. Not until he knows what it feels like to lose everything he built. The wind picked up, carrying the hum of traffic and distant sirens. Sophie wrapped her jacket tighter. You're playing a dangerous game, Ethan. I smiled faintly. I built the board, Sophie. This time, I make the rules. I was halfway through my morning coffee when Nora knocked on my office door. Got a strange one for you, she said, holding a manila folder. Candidate for the open manager position. Thought you'd want to see it. I frowned. You know, I don't handle interviews anymore. You'll want this one, she said quietly. Something in her tone made me pause. I took the folder and flipped it open. The name hit me like a fist. Nathan Cole. For a second, I couldn't breathe. His photo stared back at me, same sharp jawline, same arrogant tilt at the chin, but the eyes. Those weren't the same. They looked hollow. I laughed under my breath. Is this some kind of joke? Nora shook her head. No joke. He applied through the site last night. Resume checks out well. What's left of it? What do you mean, what's left of it? Coltech collapsed 6 months ago, she said. Investors pulled out after an audit scandal. His assets are frozen. He's, let's say, between lives. I stared at the resume again. He doesn't know I'm the CEO, does he? She smirked faintly. No, the listing was anonymous. Probably thinks he's applying to some new startup. Exhaled slowly, leaning back. My pulse was steady, but my hands trembled on the desk. Schedule him for Friday. 10 a.m.? I'll take the interview myself. Nora hesitated. Are you sure? You don't have to. I want to, I said. I need to. She nodded. Understood. I'll make it discreet. When she left, I just sat there staring at his photo. Nathan Cole, the man who humiliated me. The man who fired me in front of my team, stole my design, and told me I'd never make it on my own. And now, he was begging for a job. Poetic, I muttered, rubbing my temple. Talking to yourself again?
I turned.
Sophie stood in the doorway with 2 files in her hands, her usual calm smile masking curiosity. I gestured at the folder. You're not going to believe who applied for a job here. She stepped closer, took one look at the resume, and froze. You've got to be kidding. I wish I was. She studied me for a moment. So, what are you going to do? I'm going to interview him, Ethan. Her tone carried a warning. I'm not going to hurt him, I said quietly. I just want to see him. I want to look him in the eyes when he realizes. Sophie crossed her arms. You sure this isn't about revenge? Everything's about closure, I said. This is mine. She tilted her head. You don't sound angry. I'm not. I looked at Nathan's photo again. That's the scary part. The rest of the day blurred into meetings and half-finished thoughts. My mind kept circling back to that folder on my desk. At one point, Sophie poked her head into my office. You're staring holes into that thing, I'm thinking. About what? What I'll say when he walks in? She sighed. You could just reject his application, you know. Quietly. That's mercy, I said. He didn't show me any. She studied me for a long time before setting her files down. You're not the same man anymore, Ethan. I glanced up. No. She shook her head slowly. The Ethan I met in that apartment would have wanted to burn him alive. The one sitting here? He just wants to look him in the eye and move on. I smiled faintly. Maybe success changes people. Or maybe it shows who they really are, she said softly. Later that night, after everyone left, I stayed behind. The office lights cast long reflections across the glass walls. Nathan's application still sat open on my desk. Education, experience, a list of achievements that now meant nothing. He'd even written a cover letter. Dear hiring manager, I'm seeking a new beginning. I stopped reading there. The irony was too thick. A new beginning. For a moment, I almost pitied him. Almost, I closed the folder and stared out at the city skyline. The same skyline he once ruled over from his penthouse office. Now, he was just another applicant in my inbox. Sophie's voice echoed in my head. You're not the same man anymore. She was right. I wasn't. The man who once trembled in that boardroom, walked out into the rain, stripped of pride and purpose, he was gone. Now I had everything he'd tried to take from me, and soon he'd know it. I turned off the lights, the city glowing faintly below me. Friday, I whispered. Let's see how it feels, Nathan. Asterisk, Mr. Cole, I said, watching the man walk in like a memory with poorer lighting. He wore a cheap suit that tried too hard to be neat. Take a seat, blinked, looked around, and for a beat didn't recognize me. Then his eyes landed on my desk nameplate and tightened. Ethan Reed, he asked, voice thin. That's me, I said. What makes you think you're fit to work under me? He swallowed. I saw the opening, and I need work. I thought it was a good fit. So a good fit or a second chance? I leaned forward, because those are not the same thing. He forced a laugh. I can learn. I've managed teams. I know how to lead. Lead how? I asked. By changing documents? By hiding audits? By blaming others? His jaw tightened. We did what had to be done. Business is ruthless. Ruthless doesn't mean you get to ruin people, I said. You use people like tools. He looked guilty. I made mistakes. I lost my company. I lost my marriage. I lost a lot. Lost. I repeated. Or you were exposed. He flinched. Same thing. Sophie stood quietly in the doorway watching. I didn't need her to speak. Her presence was enough. You destroyed careers, I said slowly. Do you understand what that means? You took livelihoods. I know, he said. I'm sorry. Sorry, I echoed. Will that fix the audit? The clients? The years I lost? It won't, he admitted. But I'm trying to change. Change is shown, I said. Not claimed. Then tell me how to show it, he pleaded. Give me a way to prove myself. Sophie stepped in. Start small. No access to finances. Volunteer mentoring. Community work. He nodded. I can do that. Why should we believe you? I asked. Why should Nova Edge risk its culture on your repentance? Because I need to rebuild, he said. Because I can't keep running. People rebuild all the time, Sophie said. They step up and accept limits. I leaned back, thinking. The man who sat before me had once sat in a corner office and ordered careers to collapse. Now he asked for crumbs. What do you want from me? I asked him finally. I want a chance to be useful again, he said. To work honestly. To show I can contribute? Prove it, I said. Start as an associate. No managerial role. 6 months probation. Transparent reporting. He exhaled. Yes, anything. And if you lie, Mr. Cole? He met my eyes. Then fire me. Publicly. No deals, no favors. Sophie raised an eyebrow. That sounds fair. I watched him, searching his face for any sign of the old arrogance. There was humility, thin and raw. One more thing, I said. You will write a statement acknowledging what happened at Coltech. Not an apology letter fax. Names, dates, actions. You will sign it. He looked pale. You want me to admit to everything? I want the record straight, I said. Not for revenge. For truth. He nodded, shaky. I can do that. Drew up a plan. He would start at the lowest level, under strict supervision. He would attend ethics training. He would submit weekly reports. We would document every step. When he stood to leave, he hesitated. Are you sure you trust me? I don't trust you, I said quietly. But I believe in systems. Systems can measure trust. He swallowed. Thank you. As he walked out, the door closing behind him made a small, final sound. Sophie sat down, rubbing her temple. Why didn't you destroy him? She asked, surprised. Because destruction is simple, I said. What comes after destruction is empty. I don't want emptiness. I want the truth fixed and my life returned. You're colder than before? Had to get colder, I said. The old burning anger would have ruined everything. She sat back. So what's next? We watch, I said. We document. We let evidence grow. She nodded slowly. And if he starts to manipulate again, then we expose him, I said. Publicly. With facts. Her hand found mine, a brief anchor. Do you think he can actually change? I don't know, I admitted. But I know how to build defense. That's what matters now. Later that evening, I stood by the window and watched lights blink on. Sophie came up behind me. Do you ever miss being the man you were? She asked. Not the man who broke people, I said. I miss who I might have been without all that pain, she smiled. Then let's make him earn his keep, nodded. For everyone's sake, we both returned to work. The hum of the office filled the space between us. Outside, the skyline glowed. Inside, I felt a hollow that no victory would fill. But I also felt a careful edge. Like a blade, I was sharpening slowly. This was the beginning of a new game, and I intended to win by rules I set myself. The call came late at night. I almost didn't answer, but the name flashing on my screen, Lena Park, froze me. I pressed accept. Lena, Ethan, she breathed, her voice trembling. You picked up. I didn't think you would. Almost didn't, I said. What do you want? It's about Nathan. Of course it was. Go on, I heard. He applied at your company, she said quietly. Nova. Is it true? It's true. Please, she said, her tone desperate. Don't humiliate him. He's not the same person anymore. I leaned back, letting silence hang. Not the same? Or just desperate? He's broken, Ethan, she said. He's lost everything Alltech, the investors, the house, even me. Sounds familiar? I said softly. You were with him when I lost everything too, she hesitated. I know, and I hate myself for it. No, you don't, I said. You regret the outcome, not the choice. That's not fair. It's fair, I said. You left when I was at my lowest. You didn't even ask if I was okay. I was scared, she said. Nathan promised stability. He said you'd never recover. I believed him. I was wrong. You were, I said flatly. She took a shaky breath. I didn't call to defend myself. I called because I saw what's happening to him. He's barely surviving, please. Don't destroy what little he has left. Destroy. I laughed once. You think I need to? He's done that himself. He's trying to change, she whispered. He even talks about making peace with you. Peace, I said. He lied, cheated, and ruined careers for profit. You call that something I should make peace with? Her silence pressed through the line. Then she said, You've changed too. You sound colder. I had to, I said. Warmth got me burned. Ethan, she started, then stopped. I heard a faint sob. I miss you. The words hung there like a ghost. You miss me, I repeated slowly. Or the version of me that would have forgiven you. I made a mistake, she said, voice breaking. I thought I knew what love was. I didn't. I made a mistake too, I said. I thought trust and love were the same thing. I thought loyalty meant something, she cried softly. Do you really hate me that much? No, I said. I don't hate you, Lena. Hate would mean I still care. The silence that followed was heavy, almost kind. I wish I could take it all back. She whispered, You can't, I said. None of us can. That's the point. I just wanted to hear your voice, she said faintly. To know you're okay? I'm better than okay, I said. I built something of my own. Without him? Without you, I'm happy for you, she said. Truly. I hope you are, I said. Because I am too. There was another long pause. I could almost hear her nodding. Then she said quietly, "Goodbye, Ethan. Goodbye, Lena." I ended the call. The silence afterward was strange light, almost clean. For the first time in years, my chest didn't ache. A soft knock came at the door. Sophie stepped in, her eyes searching my face. "You look like someone just closed a book," she said gently. "Maybe I did," I said. "An old one that should have ended long ago." "Lena?" she asked. I nodded. She wanted mercy for Nathan, and forgiveness for herself. "Did you give it?" I gave her honesty. I said, "It's the only thing either of them ever deserved." Sophie smiled faintly. "You did the right thing," maybe, I said. "Or maybe I just stopped doing the wrong ones." She walked closer, her voice quiet. "How do you feel?" "Lighter," I said. "Like I finally stopped carrying ghosts." She touched my arm. "Then maybe it's time to live again." I looked out the window at the city lights. For once, they didn't remind me of what I'd lost, only of what I'd built. "Yeah," I said softly. "Maybe it is." And as the night stretched on, I realized that closure didn't always come with revenge. Sometimes it came with a simple truth that I was finally free. Asterisk, when Nora slid the file across my desk, I didn't look up right away. I already knew what it was. Nathan Cole's updated application this time, requesting any available position. "Are you sure about this?" she asked quietly. "You don't owe him anything." "I'm not doing it for him," I said. "Send him the offer." She hesitated. "Understood." That night, I couldn't sleep. The image of his face during the interview kept looping in my mind, hollow eyes, trembling hands. The same man who once looked down on me, now drowning in the silence he created. When he arrived on his first day, I watched from the glass office above the floor. He wore a faded gray suit, one that didn't fit quite right. He didn't look up at me once. Later, I called him in. He entered quietly, standing just inside the door. "Mr. Reed," he said, voice soft. "You wanted to see me?" "Have a seat," I said. He obeyed without meeting my eyes. "I wasn't sure you'd accept the job," I said. He managed a small nod. I didn't have many options left. "You understand what this means, right?" I asked. "Yes," he said. "It means I work. I earn. I don't complain." "Good," I said. "That's all I expect." He looked down at his hands. "You could have rejected me. I would have deserved it." "Could have," I said. "But maybe I wanted to see who you'd become." He finally looked up, his eyes dull but honest. "I'm not proud of who I was, Ethan." "Neither am I," I said quietly. "But here we are." He nodded once. "Thank you for this chance." I didn't respond. I just gestured for him to go. Days turned into weeks. Nathan arrived early, stayed late, never complained. No arrogance, no shortcuts. He spoke little, only when necessary. Sophie noticed it too. "You're watching him," she said one evening, leaning against my office door. "I need to know if it's real." I said, "Maybe it doesn't matter anymore," she replied. "You've already won." "It's not about winning," I said. "It's about understanding what's left." Her smile was faint. "You're softer than you pretend to be." "I'm tired," I admitted. "That's all." That night, long after everyone left, I found a small envelope on my desk. No name on the front, just my title. Inside was a handwritten note in uneven script. "You won, Ethan. I deserved everything that happened. Thank you for letting me start again." Nathan and I read it twice. The ink had smudged near the end, maybe from a trembling hand. For a long time, I didn't move. When Sophie walked in to drop off reports, she noticed the paper in my hand. "What's that?" "A confession," I said quietly. "Do you believe him?" I nodded slowly. "Yeah, for once I think I do." She sat across from me. "So what now? You forgive him?" "I don't know if forgiveness is the right word," I said. "But I don't hate him anymore." She smiled. "That's enough." I leaned back in my chair, staring at the city lights outside. The reflection of my own face looked different, somehow calmer. Older all this time, I'd thought revenge would bring peace, that destroying him would heal me. But it hadn't. It just made me colder. Now watching Nathan rebuild what little he had left, I finally understood. Revenge wasn't about making someone pay. It was about reclaiming the part of yourself they tried to break. When I turned the note over, I saw one last line scribbled on the back. I hope you find peace too. For the first time, I smiled. Not out of triumph, but relief. I folded the paper carefully, placed it in the drawer, and whispered to the empty office. Maybe we both already have. Outside, the night air felt softer than it had in years. The storm had finally passed, not with thunder, but with quiet. The conference lights were blinding. Cameras flashed as I stood beside a glowing banner that read, "Nova Edge Innovation with Integrity, Mr. Reed." Leaning forward, "How does it feel to lead the most trusted tech company of the year?" I smiled. "It feels earned." He grinned. "They're calling you the man who rebuilt ethics in business. Is that what they're calling me?" I asked lightly. The crowd laughed. I didn't, inside. Something twisted. Integrity. If only they knew how much blood honesty costs. After the interviews, Sophie found me near the stage stairs holding 2 cups of coffee. "You look like you'd rather be anywhere else," she said. "I'm not built for speeches," I replied, taking the cup. "You're built for war," she teased. "But you've won this one," I said quietly. "I won." She looked at me for a long moment. "You don't sound happy." "I'm something," I said. "Happy doesn't feel like the right word." Sophie leaned against the wall. "It's okay if it doesn't. We both know what it took." The lights dimmed behind us, signaling the end of the event. Applause echoed. I didn't turn to look. Back at the office later that night, the city's glow reflected off the glass walls. Sophie dropped a file on my desk. "Last set of reports for the quarter," she said. "You're efficient, as always," I replied. She hesitated. "Actually, this might be my last one." I looked up. "You're quitting?" She nodded, her expression calm, but sure. "I'm starting something new." "My own thing alone?" "Yeah," she said softly. "You taught me that survival doesn't wait for permission." I leaned back in my chair. "You've earned it. I wasn't sure how you'd take it." "Proud," I said simply. "That's how I take it." She smiled faintly. "I'll miss this place. The chaos, the caffeine, your constant overthinking. I'll miss your brutal honesty." She chuckled. "You'll find someone else who tells you when you're being an idiot." "Doubt it," I said. "You were one of a kind." Sophie grew serious again. "Ethan, do you ever regret it?" "All of this." I didn't answer right away. My gaze drifted to the skyline. "Sometimes," I admitted. "But I think regret and success come from the same place, wanting too much." She nodded. "Then maybe you've wanted enough for a while." "Maybe," I said, though I wasn't sure. She extended her hand. "Goodbye, boss." "Goodbye, partner," I said, shaking it firmly. After she left, silence filled the room like smoke. I walked to the window and looked down at the streets below, cars moving like veins of light. People rushing somewhere, always chasing. I whispered to the glass. "I made it." The words felt strange leaving my mouth. True, but heavy. My reflection stared back at me. Older, sharper, colder. The kind of man I used to despise? Was this victory? The title, the money, the recognition, they all felt like shadows. I had everything I once begged for, but somewhere along the way, pieces of me went missing. I sat down at the desk, tracing the edge with my fingers. The same desk where Nathan once begged for forgiveness. The same desk where I'd built my empire brick by brick, fueled by anger and exhaustion. I pulled open the drawer and saw the old note he'd left. "You won." Ethan, I deserved everything that happened. For a moment, I envied him. He'd lost everything, yes, but maybe he'd found peace. The clock ticked past midnight. The office was empty now, the way it had been in the beginning. Success had come full circle. But I wasn't sure it had brought me home. I leaned back, closing my eyes, whispering into the dark, "Victory isn't freedom. It's just another cage with better walls." Outside, the city hummed indifferent. Endless. And I sat there, smiling faintly, realizing the truth I'd ignored all along. Every empire demands a sacrifice. I'd given mine willingly, Asterisk, it was a quiet morning when I saw him again. The office lobby buzzed with chatter, but my focus froze on one face, Nathan Cole. He stood by the reception desk. Talking to Nora, he looked different. Thinner, calmer, almost. Lighter when he noticed me, he smiled. Not the confident smirk I once despised, but something humble. Human, Ethan, he said softly, walking over. You've been hard to catch. I've been busy, I replied, adjusting my cuffs. Running a company tends to do that, he nodded. So I've heard. Nova Edge is everywhere. Congratulations. Thanks. There was a pause. For a moment, the noise around us faded. All I could hear was the echo of the past, his voice firing me in front of everyone, the silence that followed, the rain that night. What brings you here? I asked finally. I'm leaving, he said. Got an offer from a smaller firm out of town. Thought I'd say goodbye before I go. I raised a brow. Goodbye? You don't owe me that. I do, he said quietly. You gave me a chance when no one else would. I don't think I ever thanked you properly. You don't need to. I need to for me, he said. I was a bastard, Ethan. Arrogant. I thought power made me untouchable. You proved me wrong, and somehow you still gave me work instead of revenge. That's more grace than I ever showed you. I studied his face. There was no performance in his eyes, only honesty. Maybe even peace. What changed you? I asked. He smiled faintly. Losing everything. It's funny, I thought success would define me. Turns out, failure did. Hard way to learn, I said. The only way that lasts, he replied. Nora approached, handing him a folder. Exit papers, she said softly. He signed without hesitation. Before leaving, Nathan turned to me again. You were right, about what? Revenge doesn't fix anything. It just fills the silence until you're ready to face yourself. I didn't answer. He extended his hand. I hesitated, then took it. His grip was steady, sincere. Good luck, Nathan, I said. He smiled, calm, grateful. You too, Ethan. Just like that, he walked out the doors and into the sunlight. No tension, no hatred. Just quiet closure when he disappeared into the crowd. I stood there for a moment, unsure how to feel. Relief? Maybe. Sadness? Possibly, mostly. It felt like exhaling after holding my breath for years. I went back to my office. The floor-to-ceiling windows reflected the morning. Sky gold and soft over the city. I paused when I caught my reflection in the glass. The man staring back wasn't the one who'd been humiliated years ago. His shoulders were straighter, his eyes colder, but steadier. There was no anger left, only calm, I whispered. The man who was fired died that day. The reflection didn't flinch. The one who replaced him, I continued, doesn't need revenge anymore. The words sank into the silence. I thought about Lena, about Sophie, about every sleepless night I'd spent chasing validation from ghosts. None of it mattered now. The only thing that did was the peace sitting quietly in my chest. The city stirred beneath me, cars moving, people starting over, life moving forward. Maybe that's all any of us ever do. I turned toward the window, watching the sunrise paint everything gold. For the first time in years, it didn't feel like another battle waiting to start. It felt like an ending and a beginning. True power wasn't in control or victory. It wasn't in seeing someone else fall. It was in standing here breathing freely, without the weight of old hatred anchoring me down. The man in the glass smiled faintly. I smiled back. Peace. I'd spent years mistaking it for weakness. But as the light filled the room, I finally understood. Peace was the only victory worth keeping.